Good evening and welcome to Friday's Live with me, Raj Naik. On this live chat, we bring to you people from different walks of life whose life's journey have been inspiring. My guest this evening is one such person. She is an actor, an entrepreneur, a mindful yogi, but most importantly, she is a beautiful soul. Please join me in welcoming my dear friend, Shilpa Shetty.
Yay! Hello! Raj, it's so wonderful. Wonderful to see you in this new avatar.
This is my time pass, Shilpa, my time pass during the lockdown.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. It's doing you good.
Thank you. And, my daughters told me I don't look at the camera. But I keep telling her I look at the person. So obviously it looks like I'm looking down, I'm not a pro like you are. But today I tried to look into the camera instead of speaking to you.
Well, you sent me so many, a list of prerequisites. I didn't even know what you were talking about. Some Chrome and Firefox. And I was like, hey, Bhagwan, I called my husband. I said, please help me. I don't know all these technicalities. So...
Yeah, but that's been my learning. I've been a tech dinosaur, but that's been my learning during the lockdown. So it's been great. So Shilpa, I don't know whether you watched this live chat before, but it's basically getting to know people whom I've known for a long time and getting to know their life's journey and getting to know them even better. And hopefully I'll get to know you better today.
Well, let's hope. My life is an open book and there's nothing that I've hidden from the world. But I know that you're going to excavate some facts and some deeply hidden truths because I think when I speak to you, I really bare my soul. And it's happened on your show so much. Even before, I have to make a mention now since I'm doing this interview with you. I saw Atul's interview. I saw Farah's interview. And you kind of... gave me some in-depth knowledge about them and maybe more facets to their personality, despite the fact that I've known them for so many more years, before. So I'm saying this is a compliment to you that maybe you're able to, peel off much more in terms of info.
No, that's not the intention. The intention is just to, get to know the person and things like that. And if people feel free to speak, that's great. So today we are going to start with you. So, and we are going to get to know your life's journey. So let's start from the beginning, from your childhood. Where were you born? Where were you brought up?
Well, Wikipedia is wrong over there. They claim that I'm born and bred in Mangalore, which isn't the truth. I am a Mangalorean, but I've been born and bred here in Mumbai. Very much a Mumbaiite. I was born in Chembur, bred there for most of my life. I shifted to Juhu after my marriage. Before that, I was in Andheri. So that is the biographics. I was a very ordinary, lanky kid in my growing years. Very mediocre, but I excelled in sports. I was a state level volleyball player. And I think I tried to make up my my academics, or rather the lack of academics. My math is still terrible. So I kind of made up with games and being a sports personality in school. So even when I got into college, Raj, you won't believe it, back in the day, kids would apply after their 10th standard to 3-4 colleges and then see where they would get entry. But I was very clear that I wanted to get into one particular college for commerce. I decided I want to do commerce. And I actually got in the sports quota. So I remember that I got some 74% and they stopped at some 85%. And the principal called me to his office and said that even if you had 55%, we would have still taken you because I was a volleyball player, I was a basketball player, And I became the captain of my college team. So yeah, that's my life's journey in a nutshell.
You know, it's interesting. I was just thinking when you were talking, you are my fourth guest from Chembur. Okay, fourth guest. Yeah. So Anil Kapoor, Shankar Madhavan, Faye D'Souza, and you. And there's one commonality we have is when I moved to Bombay, I lived as a paying guest in Chembur. So, you know.
Really?
Yeah,
From Chembur.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. And
Yeah. I can't hear you. I lost your voice.
yeah, can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you. My God,
This
these
is technology, and I don't have a producer. I don't have any technicians. I'm managing everything myself. So
adversity introduces man to himself.
That's true. So I said before this, I said that you are my second Mangalorean friend, and for all those people who are watching in Mangalore,
mind-blowing. So we actually connected because of our Mangalorean roots.
Yes.
And for all those who don't know Raj enough, he speaks Tulu beautifully and quite fluently, and that's how our connect happened when we met each other years ago.
You know who was the first person who spoke to me Tulu from the industry? It was Aishwarya. I had gone to meet her, and we finished the meeting, and she came to the lift to drop me. And at the lift, she asked me, she said, "Where are you from?" I said, "Mangalorean." And she said, "Tulu Varkunda."
That's the first thing we Mangaloreans do. And Punjabis don't get it. They're like, why do you need to break forth in Tulu? Because I'm like, listen, Punjabis, there are so many Punjabis all over the place. And not that when they meet, they don't speak in Punjabi. They to just look for an occasion. But for us bunts, there are so few of us that when we spot one, we just kind of pounce. And we kind of brush up on our Tulu over there.
Yeah. And so tell me, has Raj Anna learnt Tulu?
He speaks it very well, actually. I mean, for someone who doesn't, if someone doesn't know that he's Punjabi, he can actually strike a full conversation at a lunch table. So he's learned all the lines like Bada Apund, as in I'm hungry, Vanas Bari Yedde Undu, all the lunch conversation he has learned. Because Raj actually loves Mangalorean food. So he's ever ready to go to anyone's house who's Mangalorean, who's invited him home for dinner or lunch. And then he'll start talking in Tulu. And they all get very impressed.
I can imagine. He's charming as well. So I can understand that. He can just make people eat out of his hands. So let's go back. You said, so when you were young, what did you want to become? I mean, did you have this thing of being an actor? I mean,
no, not at all. Who knew? I told you I was a very, I joke with my mom because my mom told us a lot. She kept repeating this ugly duckling story with me, especially. I was like, are you trying to tell me something? And I knew I wasn't very good looking because, I used to be in the sun all day playing volleyball. And I was a very thin, lanky kid, like I said before. I really wasn't a good looker in the conventional sense. Yes, I was tall. But I had a personality. I knew that. But I never thought in my wildest dreams that I could, be an actor. I did have some kida because, and I'm saying kida because Shamita and I remember our first introduction to movies happened through Tezab. And I remember the song, which was like a cult song, Ek Do Teen. Mom and dad had got us this video cassette and we played it so many times over and over again. Because back in the day, we didn't have YouTube, We only had access to video cassettes. and we both wanted to learn it. So we both kept rewinding and playing it and rewinding and playing it over and over again, so much that it stopped working one fine day. But then Shamita and I both learned through that one video cassette, and we actually aced every move, and we knew the song from beginning to end through that one video cassette. So that was my introduction to movies. I remember Dad taking me to watch Lavaris and Amit Ji's movies. And I think my love for cinema began from there. And I never thought that I could be an actor, but I love dancing. And I remember once standing in front of the camera and doing an emotional scene from Chandni without glycerine. So I don't know, maybe there was something within me that made me feel like I wanted to go in this direction, but I never thought that this could be my calling. So I remember that I got introduced to this milieu through a neighbor who actually spotted me at a function and said that, you should do some ramp shows because you have the height. And I came from a middle class family and I didn't know how to go about it. And he had just flown in from America, and he volunteered to do my photographs free of cost. And I remember I was 16 and a half at the time, and the makeup artist and the hairdresser distributed my photographs. So it worked so simply, back in the day. And I got calls, and I remember I'd endorsed a couple of, and I did some aerated drink back in the day. And it was just pocket money. And then through that, someone noticed me in the film industry. And that's how my journey began. So it was really destiny, I guess. I keep saying that because there's no way in hell I would have thought that I could make this into a career, or I'm going to be an actor one day. My father used to be a pilot. He used to do a lot of VIP flying, and then I think a couple of years into the marriage with my mom said that this is going to be really dangerous, and I'm not happy with you flying, so you need to think of another day job. So flying was an option. I remember I was taking a flight to Bangalore, and me telling my dad, I just love being up in the air. You think I can be a pilot? So I did nurse that thought for some time. I think I must have been around 11 or 12 back at that time. But becoming an actor just happened by chance. And after my first movie, I'm just speaking. I don't know. You can stop me.
Please. This is unlike any news channel. Nobody shuts you up here. You can go on talking.
We don't want to go on those news channels. No, but so I think I realized that maybe I had the metal, or maybe I had some inkling of maybe some talent within me. When I got my first film, which got shelved, by the way, so look at my luck and my destiny, that someone coaxed me into the industry. And it was a film called Gaata Rahe Mera Dil with Dilip Nayak, and he was Yash Ji's first assistant. And he directed this film, and then it got shelved. And then Ratan Ji called me after seeing my photograph in the screen papers, and he offered me Bazikar. So where I was supposed to be introduced with someone else, and then I got introduced with Shah Rukh, and the rest is really history. And that film became a huge hit. And then I went on to doing other movies. And honestly, Raj, I think the first 3 years of my career, I didn't even know what I was doing because I was 17. And I to be honest, I just did it because it was great money for a 17-year-old. And I was doing it for the lark. I didn't speak Hindi at all because I am a South Indian. We don't really speak this language. And I would be scared to be in front of the camera. And I was like, oh my God, today I have like 5 lines. And back in the day, unlike the cameras today, the camera used to make this whirring sound like rrrr. As soon as the director would say action, this sound would start, and I would be like, oh my God, I have to just say my lines. So if you see the first 3 years of the films that I did, I would just run through my dialogues. I'd be like, I'd be, oh, okay, I'm done with my lines. So there was no understanding of the character. There was no understanding of what I was saying. I really started enjoying my work really much later in my life, maybe after 10 years of joining the industry.
Yeah, it's so interesting you spoke about those tapes. Just for your information, YouTube was not there that time.
Yeah, it wasn't.
And those tapes I still remember because we used to, take a pencil and rewind it and things like that. You remember that? I mean, fond memories. Yeah. So tell me about your parents. You told me your dad is a pilot. So tell me a little bit about your parents.
From a very conservative bunt society, because I'm not saying family, because both my parents were very forward thinking, very unconventional, for the fact that my father was educated abroad. I mean, he went to, I think, Nevada to do his aviation course. My mother was the first bunt lady to actually start working back in the day. So nearly 45, 50 years ago, she was working at Burmishell, known as BPCL. And I know that bunts weren't that open about things. And I was the first bunt girl. Aishwarya joined the industry a little, I think, much after me. But I think I was the first bunt, I know I was the first bunt actress. And I remember when I went for a wedding, there were all these whispers of, oh my God, Shilpa Shetty, she's done this movie, and she's the first girl who's, joined the movie. So it was a big step. So I'm saying this I'm saying this because I think I have to credit my parents for allowing me to chase my dreams and for allowing me to do as I wanted to. And I don't think my father was really happy about the fact that I didn't want to study anymore. But not that I was really great at, in college. I had no idea why I was doing trigonometry and cosine and cosine. Where the hell am I going to use this in my life, And Dad became a businessman a little later. We were in the small scale industries, and we were making pilfer-proof caps for medicine bottles. So my dad said, if you want to sit on my chair, I remember him wanting to actually go and sit on his chair on the first day. And I must have been 14 when he took me to the factory. And he said, to sit on my chair, you have to be worthy of it. So I want you to have an education, which is why I decided to take up commerce, not that I had any interest. So he made me sit at the knurling machine and, put those bags in those, the bottle caps. So till then it wasn't automated. So we had to manually do it. So I sat with this cap on my head with all the girls and doing those, putting in the bags. So I still remember those things. So I was like, I'm getting this opportunity, to become this actress. And after my first movie at 17 and a half, to get fame and for people to recognize you, it's a huge thing. And after that, I was like, what the heck? Why do I need to study? And then I started shooting back to back. So, after Bazigar, I was doing Himmat with Sunny Deol. I was doing another film with Govinda, who was a huge star. And then I started getting film offers day in and day out. And back in the day, most producers would want to shoot outdoors. So there goes my education. So my father was very upset that that was his only clause that I should complete my education. But I couldn't do it because it wasn't humanly possible to be working on 4 films and then, getting back in. So I literally only done up to my 12th. I didn't even appear for my exams. So literally a college dropout. And here I am sitting today. And I'm doing very well, touch wood.
Yeah, you've done very well for yourself. But tell me, I was going to ask you, obviously you've answered the question of saying, how did your parents react? And I can visualize when you say everybody in marriage functions and things like that talking about, she's done the film industry. And those days it wasn't the way it is today. Yeah, it was a huge step. So if you hadn't become an actor, what did you want to be?
Unlike the kids today who have so much clarity, my son, who's 8, going on 18, knows exactly what he wants to do, at least now. Like he says, Mama, I want to direct and I want to be an actor. And, he's inclined towards this line. But I really didn't know what I wanted to do. Like I said, when I was 11 or 12, I remember telling my dad on a flight that maybe I want to be a pilot. But I didn't know if I really wanted it badly, So I didn't have any direction. And I was actually just going with the flow. I wasn't somebody who had thought that, oh my God, I'm going to do this. And, today's kids are very focused. They have a mind of their own. I feel also they broaden their horizons. There's so much out there. And honestly, we were far more innocent. And you would agree with me.
Yeah.
So at 17, to actually get into the film industry, I thought maybe, while the going is good, for as long as I can, I will continue with, my work while work comes to me. And I think my backup plan was the fact that I was going to look after dad's business. That was my backup plan. So I think I would have, obviously, because we're just 2 girls, and dad wanted us to take over the business. So that would have been the plan.
Yeah. So finally, when you decided, who was the person you went to and told that you want to join the film industry, your mom or your dad?
So my mom and I were at this ad agency, and I had gone there for a screen test. They had called us, and my mom would come with me everywhere because I was this very timid girl. I was very scared. Unlike today's independent girls, I always wanted my mother with me. I didn't know how to go about things. And I think back in the day, we were all very dependent on our parents. So I went to this ad agency and I was sitting there waiting for my turn. And Dilip Nayak was sitting opposite me, and he was going through this album with all the models' photographs. And I was sitting right opposite him. And I think he must have chanced my photograph in it. And he looked at me and he said, "Is this you?" So I was there sitting without makeup. And he saw my photograph with makeup. And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Hi, I'm Dilip Nayak." And I still remember his first words to me. He says, "Tumhari aankhon mein bahut matlab khas baat hai." And I didn't know what to say. And he said, "Would you like to do movies? Would you like to get into the movies?" So my mother was sitting next to me, and I looked at her, waiting for her to say something. And she said, no, I don't think, she's just very young and we just want to do this interview. This. And he was so persistent. And I said, "I don't think my dad's going to allow me." And that's the first thing that came out of my mouth. He said,
"Can you hear me?"
Yeah, I can hear you, but I think it was buffering in between. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll take it from there.
Yeah.
From the screen test, he came with me home, and it was so impromptu that he sat in front of my father and he convinced my father that I should be an actress. Can you believe it? So my life just turned overnight, and I didn't even know what was happening. And he told my father that, she has the metal and I've seen it. And I had no formal training in acting, and I had no clue what I was getting into. I just knew that I was going to be cast opposite Ronit Roy, and at that time, Jaan Tere Naam was a very big hit. So you remember that Akka India Janta Hai Hum Tum Pe. So I was quite excited to be starring opposite Ronit. So that was the story. And my father just had one clause that he put down. He said, if she's doing the movie, she will have to finish with her education. And I said, "Okay, Dad, I'll continue with my studies." So even while I was filming that film, I remember going to college, you know, and yeah, so that was the story.
So tell me about your sister. I mean, your how many siblings are you? Just two, right? I mean, from what I know.
Shamita and me, yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about Shamita as well.
Shamita is the more independent one. She's the bully. And, and I think Shamita and we're really more friends, you know. And Shamita was very, very smart. So she would always, you know, use me to get through to my parents. And I remember I must have been in the industry and I must have been 21, 22. I still didn't have a credit card. If ever I needed to buy anything, I would just have to go and tell my mom, and then she would give me the money, you know. And I remember once she telling me, she's like, "How can you be so dependent on mom and dad? I mean, you need to have a credit card." I realized much later that she wanted a credit card, so so she she used my shoulder, और मेरे कंधे से उसने जो बुलेट मतलब अटैक किया है, तो I remember then sitting with my parents and saying that, you know, it's a little inconvenient, Mama. Now I think I should have my own credit card. You know? And the minute I got my credit card, the next day she was like, "Okay, if Shilpa has a credit card, even I also should get one now." so Shamita was she's always been the more mature. She drives. She's very independent. I don't. I'm scared to even go into a pool. You know. So those are all my So I don't do everything.
So you have been her influence for her getting into the film industry?
I don't know. I think the fact that she was doing her internship with Manish Malhotra. So she was she did her what do you call it, or her course, her dress designing course, her fashion designing course from SNDT, and Manish was a very dear friend of mine, is a very dear friend of mine. So I remember her doing an internship, and you know, it's all that same clique. So Adi was casting for Mohabbatein at the time, and I think Manish suggested that he see Shamita, and they did a screen test, and they loved her. So I guess eventually it all had to boil down to, you know, the same industry, because Shamita is a very good actress. She's a fantastic dancer. And I think I know she got it on her own steam. And she did very well.
No, I'm sure she got it on her own steam. And she is a good dancer because I've seen her on Jhalak.
Yeah.
And I've seen her on Khatron Ka Khiladi, both.
She should have won the show, Raj. Now, since you're not there anymore. No, but she's such more than just being a good dancer, you know, Raj. She's a very hardworking girl. So I just think that, you know, those ethics, that's the one common thing between her and me. I think our parents trained us in a way, or rather, I think we maybe saw them work so hard. Both my parents were working when we were growing up. So we saw them both work so hard that we valued our work, and we still continue to value it, you know. So even today, if I go on the sets, I'm 100% there. And I want to give my best. So that credit must go to my parents, that they trained us, they inculcated the right values, trained us with the right work ethics. So we have lasted so long because of that.
Yeah, and I can vouch for that because I know you pretty well. I mean, it's not easy to get this name, fame, adulation, and then be grounded. And, you know, all of you, I've met your mom, I've met each one of you, and you are a very, very rooted, grounded family, you know. I mean, that's what makes you very special. Yeah, you know, you mentioned you used to watch, you watched the Tezab and then Amitji's movies. So what was it like when you got into the industry and then you actually, now Anil is your friend, you know Amitji so well, and it's like family. So how was it like? How was it like, you know, the change?
I'm really not somebody who's starstruck. I've worked with most actors in the film industry, all the top stars. But with Amit ji, I don't know what it is. I'm still awestruck. So when I did Lal Badshah with him, I don't know how I'd say those lines, because he'd come in front of me, and the minute start sound action would begin, I'd forget all my lines. I'd be like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. And I did a whole world tour with Amit ji, and he's just such a charismatic personality. I mean, you know it. You've been privy to the kind of aura he has. It's just you have to experience it to be able to explain it. But Amit ji is, I mean, while I say all that, he's still that, you know, he's humility personified, and there's so much to learn from him. So I'm like I said, it's surreal to just know him, to be able to share screen space with him. And on my birthday, every morning on the 8th of June, without fail, Amit ji sent me a message wishing me. I don't know whether he has it on, like, you know, auto send every birthday, or I don't know how he does it, but there's always a personal message that comes to me, and I kind of wait for that. I feel like my year will go well, you know. Something might go wrong if he doesn't message me. So he's something else. Yeah, so he's the only personality that I'm still in awe of. Otherwise, I mean, I've had the opportunity and the I don't know, I think the luck to meet the likes of all my favorite actors, work with them, even the likes of Jackie Chan, you know. And I've never been awestruck with anyone other than him.
No, I can understand. I mean, in fact, I was supposed to invite Amit ji for one of our functions, and I spoke to Wing Commander at that time, and he asked me to come to the KBC set, you know. So I was there at the KBC set, outside his vanity van, and then I went in and I met him, and I told him, you know, and so he told me something very interesting. He said, Raj, I'm doing 2 shifts, almost 2 shifts. I'm here from morning here till evening, and I feel very tired. So if you can tell me the exact time when you want me to come, Rosie, I think, will coordinate with you, and I'll come for that time, you know. And that's something I always found about him. He makes a commitment, he keeps it.
Oh my God, yeah.
And for him to do a whole day shoot,
yeah,
and then come and attend our function, I mean, I think that speaks volumes of his relationships and his commitment, you know.
Totally. And he respects people's time, you know, and I have a lot of respect for people who respect other people's time. So he, you know, it's been such a learning curve to just work with stalwarts like him. You get to, you know, I was like this sponge around him. So I wanted to just absorb everything that I saw. The way he conducts himself, he really is an institution. So I'm very blessed to have the good fortune to know him so closely.
So what would you say is your, it's a tricky question, who is your most, not Amit ji, who's your most favorite actor in Bollywood?
Actor? Oh God.
Everybody is an actor. I mean, today you don't say actress and actor, right? You say actor.
I mean, when you're talking about acting, it would be Chichi, Govinda. There is no actor that was as wholesome and complete. I mean, he is one actor who could make me, like, I could be, it would be my OTS, my back shot, and he's giving a shot, and he could make me cry in an emotional scene. And sometimes he's made me cry in a shot and made me laugh. You know what I'm saying? So there are very few people who are blessed with that kind of prowess. And no one dances like the way he does. No one feels the music like the way he does, the way he moves. So he is, again, someone I learned a lot from. So he'll always be up there, you know. I did like 6 movies with him, all of them, one bigger flop than the other, but that was like my training ground, I felt. when people compliment me on my expressions, I think a lot of that credit must go to even Chi.
So he is your hero number one.
Yeah, totally.
Which is the movie that you liked best, which you acted in? Which is your best movie, according to yourself?
I don't know. I think I've given my best to each one that I did. Some I didn't know how to approach back in the day. Like I said, I had no formal training. I learned on the job. I think the films I really enjoyed, or rather, I kind of got a grasp of the craft much later. So I enjoyed working with Inder Kumar on a film called Rishte, where I had a dialect. I had this Marathi accent, and I played a fisherwoman. And I even got nominated for the best supporting actor. That was one of my most difficult characters that I played. So for a South Indian to actually speak with a dialect of "Hey, dekhta kya hai tu?" that kind of thing was very hard for me. But I really enjoyed playing that part. Apart from that, I really enjoyed doing Fir Milenge. Fir Milenge really was a turning point in my career in terms of the way people viewed me. And definitely my milestone in my career was Dhadkan. So Dhadkan again was a film that a lot of the masses appreciated. So yeah.
So let's switch gears a bit. So tell me, how did television happen to you?
Gosh, television happened years ago. The funny thing is that my first foray into television was Jhalak Dikhla Ja. And at that time, it was with another TV channel. And I think it was Endemol, correct me if I'm wrong.
BBC.
BBC, yeah. So BBC, the guys came here, and I remember all of us going to Farah's house, and there was Sanjay Leela Bansali, Farah, and me that judged the show. And it just happened. I mean, I didn't think about it so much. I think back in the day, KBC was going on, and Amiji was the only star to have actually ventured out on television. So I did it at that time without thinking so much, and that show worked. And then after that, I did so many other shows. But I think what worked for me in a biggish sort of way is the international show Big Brother. So I went and I did that. See, at that time, there was I felt like I was going through a lull in my career. I had 2 films on hand, Apne and Metro, Life in a Metro. And there wasn't anything great happening in my life. And it was a 3-week show, and I was approached. And they wanted an Indian celebrity. Because I think Channel 4 knew that Asians are going to get hooked on, and the UK has a huge diaspora. So they wanted me to obviously cater to that. So I went, and I thought I'll get eliminated in the first week, and first week happened, second week happened, and the third week happened, and I emerged as a winner. And after that, there was no looking back. So I did a lot of TV after coming back to India, because I realized that it's less time consuming, pays really well, and I think it's very gratifying for an artist, because see, when you're in the industry, I think you've already done so much work that you want to do something that gives you an instant payback without any onus lying on your shoulder. And that's how TV happened in my life. And actually, funny enough, when I came back to India, it was with Colors that I did my first big outing, which was launching of Bigg Boss in India.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that time you were the head.
No, I was not there.
You came in much later.
Not much later, just a year later. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that was.
Yeah. So and everything that I dabbled with on TV, instinctively, I just always went with my instinct. They all did very well. So.
Touchwood.
I have this touchwood. So I have this reputation of being lucky on TV.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, Big Brother is the international version of Big Boss, and I think Shilpa Shetty did Big Brother even Big Boss came before Big Boss came to India. So, okay, quickly switching gears again. Tell me about being a mindful yogi. How did that happen?
Well, I've always practiced yoga for the longest time. I think now it's my 17th year, and every year there's a new, or every day it's a new beginning, a new learning. And I just realized, I think the first 10 years I just did it because I had certain issues. I had a nagging neck pain, and my physiotherapist had told me, you should start yoga, and that's how my entire introduction to yoga happened. And when I was in the Big Brother house in the UK, while you don't have access to a gym, that's the only thing that I found solace in, and that's the only way I could disconnect with whatever was going on in the house. And people saw that. So when I came out of the Big Brother house, a lot of people asked me to do stuff. There are a lot of opportunities and avenues that open up for you when you become a celebrity abroad. So I decided to shoot my own yoga DVD, and I spent a lot of money on it because I felt that this is my one opportunity to showcase what belongs to India and show it to the world. So around 12 years ago, I think I was the first celebrity to come out with her own yoga DVD, and I just got the rights back now after 12 years, and it did exceptionally well. And then from there on, I became synonymous with yoga and wellness and
wellness.
It was never really contrived, to really be honest. But today, I just feel that I am a celebrity, or maybe I have this opportunity to play a catalyst and make use of that name in kind of directing people in the in the right way in their journey of attaining good health and wellness. So I just want to leverage my name over there, and I'm very consciously trying to make that effort to tell people that if people appreciate the way I look, the way I maintain myself, it really comes from yoga, and it's not rocket science. So and it's never too late. There's people who are like, people who say that, oh, it's old hat now, and I'm like, it's too late in the day now for me to kind of start from scratch. I'm like, no, it's never too late. So I started doing advanced yoga literally 4 years ago. 4 years ago, if someone told me that I could do a headstand, I'd laugh at them. I'm a very proud 45-year-old, and I started doing advanced yoga when I was 43. I regret just one thing, that why didn't I start earlier? So to all those people, if I'm able to connect via this interview, I want them to know that it's never too late. And yoga has so many benefits. It's the single most holistic way to repair yourself on the exterior and the interior. And I just feel that in this time and age, Raj, people are suffering so much with so many mental health issues. And I don't blame people for having issues, because these are very daunting times. So more than, forget advanced yoga and forget asanas also, if you don't have the, the inclination towards that. Pranayam, I feel, must be introduced in every school. And it must be introduced to this generation. Pranayamas really have a reversing effect in the way you think, your age, the way you breathe. and has an overall positive effect on everything you do. So it changes your perspective. So I just feel that yoga, I don't promote it just for the heck of it. I promote it because it's a science. I really have seen the difference it's made to my life, to my thinking, to the balance. And I think balance is really key. How to balance your professional life with your personal life is key. And that can only happen if you are balanced. So yoga has been able to bring that balance in my life. And yeah, so I can't stop myself from promoting it at every given opportunity.
No, I can relate to it. I mean, I keep asking myself why I didn't, when I was young, why I didn't take up yoga, and probably Sadhvi feels the same. And if I had known the benefits probably earlier, maybe with my kids, but they studied in school a bit and they practice as well. So coming back, so tell me, you, in spite of all that, I've seen you eat well and you enjoy your desserts and you show off your desserts every weekend. So tell me, how do you manage to stay so fit?
They say ना, सच्चा योगी वो होता है जो सब कुछ पचा सकता है. So I digest everything because I work out. I enjoy my workout. I don't regret. I eat with gratitude. I don't do any guilt eating. I feel this generation and a lot of people eat with a lot of guilt. So that's why then, they're not able to digest their food. And I feel more, I don't know what the use of that is. So for all those people who are watching us, I want them to know, and even Raj, you just said that, I wish I would have taken it up earlier. It's never too late. And so if you want to eat well, you have to understand that you have to live. You don't live to eat, you eat to live. So that's been my concept in life. I eat like a queen in the mornings. My lunch is actually my heaviest meal, and I eat like a pauper in the night. So that's a very clear pattern that I have maintained, and I've been a consistent and constant 60, 61 kgs for the last over 30 years.
Yeah, and amazing. I must say, amazing. Every time I look at you, I get inspired. Except that I don't have the same motivation that you have to do yoga every day. And what's the mantra? Give me some tips. And how do I motivate myself to do it? I do it for 2 days, then I get out, and again I do it.
The thing is, there has to be an inflection point that happens. See, I can tell you whatever I want to say, whatever I feel, whatever I have experienced, but till that falling doesn't happen for you, from within, until you do not realize that this is something that you need, you are not going to turn to it and make it a discipline. So yoga for me is a discipline. It's like saying that I have to breathe. You have to breathe. Can you make a choice over there? No. So the funny thing is, I think that inflection point happened 3 years ago, and in a biggish sort of way. And now during the lockdown, I've had so much time. They say that time can either be a blessing or a curse. It really depends on how you make use of it. So in this time, Raj and I both have made a lot of changes in our life. We both turned vegetarian. He has gone the whole hog and turned vegan. I have been vegan for a very long time, as in I have cut out lactose from my life for some time. But I have it. I mean, if I need to have a Yakult, I'll have a Yakult. I will have a Rasgulla. So I'm not rigid about lactose. But he too has completely eliminated it. But the other big change that we made was maintaining a discipline. Otherwise here there's no work, and I have a new baby at home. So you can go kind of haywire. But now Raj has started waking up at like Brahma Muhurat, which is like 4:45 in the morning, and I have started waking up at 5:30 in the morning. We make sure that we take out that 1 hour for ourselves in the morning, and we do breathing and we do pranayama, yoga. So that has become a discipline in our life. And I'm so thankful to the Lord to actually give us the opportunity to bring that discipline in our life in this time. And there are a lot of people that complain and say, "Oh my God, when is this going to get over with?" I'm like, "Oh my God, thank God for this time," because I had a new baby, and I don't think I could have wanted it any other way. So I feel so blessed that God gave us this time, and there was so much that we brought in terms of changes in our life that has been really positive for the long run.
So tell us about your new baby. How is she?
Oh my God, she's turned 8 months. She's completed 8 months yesterday, and it's surreal. I still can't believe it. When people ask me, "How are your children?" I'm like, "Children? I just have one child." So it's still not sunk in. So we've been trying for the longest time, but when she happened, look at the time that she chose to come into our life. She has just decided to keep her mother like glued to her. And I've been at home. I did my first outdoor after like 7.5 months. My first work that I decided to step out. And I was so anxious just waiting to get back. And I've never been more thrilled than when I got my report that said COVID-19 negative. That was the first thing I did. So, I mean, if you're getting out of the house, if you're working, guys, please do regular checks. And I think it's very important.
So what have you named her?
We've called her Samisha.
Come again?
Samisha. Samisha. Yeah.
So how has Vian taken to her?
So, well, I have an 8-month daughter and an 8-year-old son. So the difference, the gap is a lot, but he's been the apple of our eye and the center of attention for the last 8 years. So he suddenly feels like, oh, okay, so this attention is getting divided. But he's a smart child, and these are very unprecedented times. And, in a time where he would have ideally, actually been at school, and I could have, paid a lot of attention to my child, my newborn. Here he's getting to see that I'm literally in the room, either feeding her, burping her, changing her poo nappies. Even though I have help, I want to do everything myself. Bathing her, massaging her. So he's like, Mama, you're spending like 80% of the time with her and only 20% of the time with me. So he's like perpetually complaining. But I know that, Vian is such a pure, lovely soul that sometimes when I'm putting him to bed, he's like, Mama, I know I keep complaining a lot, but I know that she needs you. So I'm sure he's feeling a little jealous, but I think it's all part and parcel of the journey.
And he's I see him. He seems to be another fitness enthusiast, and he does all acrobatics and everything.
Yeah, he's majorly into gymnastics right now. I mean, because of these times, he's not been able to practice with a trainer, but he is very inspired by Tiger, and Tiger has kind of inspired this whole generation, I think, and everyone wants to somersault and walk into the room rather than walk into a room. So I'm like, whatever rocks his boat, I really believe that children should be encouraged to do things that they want to do rather than making them do stuff that you want them to do. So I want to encourage both my children to do stuff that they want to learn or, want to do. And I will encourage them as much as I can as a parent.
That's great. I mean, I think that's what every parent should do. So yes. I'm going to finally ask you, how did your marriage with Raj Kundra happen?
God, it's a very long story. But yeah, I really believe that it was destined to be. And like most great things that have happened in my life, this one thing that happened makes me believe that God really loves me, because Raj truly, touchwood, is my soulmate. And I don't think I could imagine life without him. So he happened in a way that I met him through a common friend. And then the rest is history. he fell in love with me and he chased me and chased me and chased me. He will tell you a different story, but this is the real story. And yeah, we got married 2 years later. And yeah.
Raj is a very romantic guy, so I'm very keen to know how he proposed to you.
It was like a fairy tale. So I remember we went out on our first date and I told him, I said, let's just be friends, because I knew where this was going. Our first date. So I said, even before he said I love you to me, even before he showed, the love you signs, I knew that he was crazy about me because I could see it in his eyes. I told him, I said, I don't think this is going to work because you live in the UK and I'm not going to make the shift. On our first date, Raj. And I remember that was the end of the date. And he was like, my God, can't a man just woo a woman? So I was like, no, I'm just telling you because you're a nice guy. And I was dying at that point to get married, okay? And Raj seemed like a very, very nice guy.
All Rajas are nice guys, just for information.
Yeah. And the next day, I remember him calling me, and he was like, I bought a house in Bombay. It's opposite this place, and would you like to come and see it? So Raj, so funny. He invited me to see this house. He said, I bought the 7th floor. So when I went to the building, only the first slab was put. The 7th floor was going to take 1 year. See, I've invested. The building is going to come up in 1 year, and I have invested in the 7th floor. So that was his first house. So that just made me feel like this man really, really loved me, and he wanted to see me happy, because I told him that, I didn't want to shift to a place and be unhappy there, because if I was unhappy, I would make him unhappy. And that made no sense. So Raj, I give him complete credit. It must have been very hard, but he made the shift for me. And whatever be the ups and downs, he is, stood his ground, and he's been my Rock of Gibraltar. And then we got married, and we've been here ever since.
Yeah. That's such an amazing story, and you're such a lovely family. I've had the privilege of meeting your mom, your whole family, and great, Shilpa. Thank you so much. It was wonderful speaking to you. Like most of my guests, I can continue speaking, but then
I just feel like we're on a Zoom call and we can just keep talking.
Yeah, we can. And we will do this again sometime, we'll do season 2 kind of a thing. Hopefully not in the lockdown.
I just want people to know that, there are some people that you meet in your life and your journey. And I'm really of the belief that you don't meet people accidentally. And every person that comes into your life has some unfinished business with you. So with you, I just feel like there is some past life connection, Raj, and you're such a good soul yourself, you and Sagri both. You brought up your children so beautifully. And I wish you all the very best. And I love you from the bottom of my heart, because you are such a special soul.
Thank you, Shilpa. Thank you so much. And I love you. Take care and have a beautiful weekend.
You too. Bye.